What's up, guys? This is Mayan Gordon. I am the owner of Mayan Gordon Media. I'm also kind of a influencer, a personality in the business space, and today we're doing a live stream talking about business coaching and really coaching in general. And I'd love some audience participation on this one. Thank you if you are watching on LinkedIn, on Facebook, or on YouTube. You guys are amazing. If you're watching right now, in addition to commenting one thing that you're grateful for, as we always do, I'd love to know what is your guys' opinions, feelings towards coaches, specifically business coaches, but coaches in general. If you're watching, have you ever used a coach before? Do you currently use a coach? Have you had good experiences, bad experiences? We're going to kind of dive in deep today and talk about coaching. And I'm going to tell you my experiences with it. So obviously, you guys, millions of coaches out there. There's going to be some really good ones. There's going to be some really bad ones, just like literally every other industry, every other skill that exists. There's really bad electricians and there's really great electricians. There's really great politicians. There's really bad politicians. Every single job that has ever existed, there has always been a range of people, good or bad. So the reason I wanted to preface that conversation with that is because I think that certain industries get a bad rap, so to speak, and coaching happens to be one of them. Because I think for two reasons. One is there do happen to be a, let's say, significant number of those 100 million coaches out there, however many it is, that are not qualified. Or maybe they're not qualified in the particular area that they're coaching. Maybe they've reached a certain level of success and thought, I should coach people in business now. But the particular area that they're helping people in, one, they either haven't identified at all. They go, I'm a business coach. And you go, okay, well, how exactly do you help people in business improve their business? And they can't give you maybe a really clear-cut, straight answer. The other reason, though, I think, is that people a lot of times go into coaching without set expectations about what coaching even is or what it's going to do for them. So again, if you're watching, whether you have used a coach before, whether you haven't, I'd love to get your opinion. What do you think the purpose of coaching is? Why would anyone even get a coach? Let me shout out a couple people watching right now who have already commented. We got Karen, who says business coaches teach about the strategies needed for building a practice. So I would call that information. And so this is a great topic of discussion, right? And you guys, again, to preface, these are my opinions. You all are entitled to completely different opinions. These are based off of my experiences, my observations, and my conversations with people. So I think if you are hiring a coach simply for information, that's not the best use of your money. I think figuring out what are the different strategies that you could use for your business, what are the different tools for your business, what are the different components, what are the different things you should know, have set up, yada yada. That's all something you can read in a book, you guys. You can look that stuff up online. I think where a coach is much more helpful than delivering information that you maybe aren't aware of is pointing you in the right direction. I think coaches are like, let's say, headlights, right? They shine the light on the direction that you should be going, or they help focus you in the direction that you should be going. Maybe you're already moving in the right direction, but you're moving like this instead of like this. The quickest way between any 2 points is always going to be a straight line. And to be honest, you guys, almost 0% of us are moving in a straight line. Most of us are moving in a nice all over the place pattern. Yes, we're going in the right direction, but are we getting there as efficiently as possible? Probably not. And a lot of the times, why are we going like this? Lack of confidence. So that's where I think, any coach should be delivering in two areas always: confidence and clarity. If within your coaching sessions, you are not gaining more confidence and more clarity in terms of your decision making, I think that you're really probably don't have the right coach in any level, whether that's a business coach, whether it's a relationship coach, whether it's a sales coach. You have to be delivered. The deliverable of coaching, I believe, is confidence and clarity. So you should already have an idea starting out of where you want to go, right? You're already headed in a direction. But you might be moving like this because you're not quite sure, should you go left? Should you go right? There's all these little micro points along your path where you have the option to turn slightly. Sometimes it's not always a choice between going straight ahead. It's a choice between, and let's say a different direction, it's a choice between going left or right. And within any of these options, having a coach, I think, is incredibly helpful for allowing you to make that decision of left or right much more confidently. The reason I'm telling you guys this is not because I'm a coach, although I am. It's because I'm being coached. I'm a coachee, a mentee. And in the past 3 months of being coached, I've seen more progress in my business and my personal life combined than in probably the past 3 years. Literally a 10x return in terms of my past progress. And you guys, I've always been a hard worker. I've always been hustling like this. Not since the day I was born. I used to be a lazy kid when I was real little. But since high school, I've been a hustler. I work really hard. And I know that's true about most of you guys watching here. I know most of you guys watching work really hard. When you think about your day, there are not more hours for you to work more. What there is room for you to do is improve the work to optimize the work you're already doing so that it is so much more effective. I talked about this on a previous live stream. Your efforts are like light. And when light is dispersed, it does not heat stuff up. It's just nice, warm sunlight. When you focus that same amount, or even really a whole lot less light, into one particular direction, you get a laser. Now, a laser, not only is it way more bright, can blind you, but it also heats things up. It's so much energy punched in one direction. Now you're not just getting light, you're getting heat. In fact, maybe you're getting a fire. Maybe you're starting a fire with that laser. And I'd love for everyone watching this to at least consider the possibility that a coach could help them turn whatever efforts that they currently have into a focused laser beam that allows you to ignite everything that you're already working on into a giant blaze, a giant bonfire that lights up this whole world, that, provides warmth for many more people. I think a fire is a great analogy, not just because I'm a glass blower, but I think fire is a great analogy for business, right? The more you feed sticks into it, the more it grows, but also the more hungry it gets, kind of like a big business. The more your fire grows, yes, the more heat it produces, but it also requires a lot more fuel to keep it going, right? And as you grow as a human being, as you start accomplishing more, you're kind of the same way. You need either more fuel or more focus. So let me check out some of these comments here. See if you guys drop your questions now. It's a perfect time. What are your questions about coaching? Again, I'm someone who I am a coach and I am being coached. I'm sure a lot of you are either in that same situation or you're someone being coached. But what are some of the questions that you guys have around coaching in general? Oh, had to swallow there. Shout out Latasha. I see you always watching. That's awesome. We got Michael in here. Neil, what's up? Neil says he's grateful for the excellent coaches with unique insights and of all ages and shapes and sizes that are in the work area and life area. Absolutely. Karen says that her coach championed her and changed her life. I love that word. Yes. So just a little precursor, you guys. I am working on a coaching group with my business coach and good friend, Jesse Johnson. Jesse is a single dad of 6, a 6-figure passive income earner, has had to work on building out his life to the T because he's a single father of 6 kids. So he's been forced. He was forced early on into a situation where he had to get his stuff together, where he had to become really good in some very specific areas, such as creating projections, such as projecting out the future of your company and really seeing in detail what that's going to look like. That's something not many people can do. I have a very great sense of visualization and imagination. I lack in that area of really being able to forecast out 10 years. Like I have no idea or at least I did. I used to have no idea what my life was going to look like 10 years from now. Since working with Jesse, I have a much more crystallized, clear picture. It's still something always evolving, but we match each other so well. I'm really, really good in terms of marketing, in terms of kind of, I would say, being a magnet. My energy tends to attract people in a way that's really positive, that's collaborative, that is a value add type of attraction, right? I attract people in a way where they go, oh, I see your value, I have value too. We come together, we come together, we combine those values, and all of a sudden we have 10 times more value than either of us started with. And it's kind of that idea that you can add 1 + 1 and get 3, or add 1 + 1 and get 10 instead of just getting 2. So we are working together. We're going to be working, at least for the next month, really, really hard on this project in terms of a group coaching community. So it's not just going to be the group coaching. We're really building tons of community aspect around it, but we're calling it the Championship Roundtable. And the reason that we're calling it the Championship Roundtable is because the word champion and the word to champion is a really powerful thing. And I believe really, really heavily in the human connection, that when you are working really hard for something and another person is also working really hard to help you get towards that something because they believe in that something too, that again, that's where you get in the scenario of adding 1 + 1 and getting 3 or more. So I love that you use that word. And that's great kind of advice. Find a coach who's going to champion you, meaning they are going to fight for you. They are going to not only give you their advice and their time, but they're going to give you their heart and their soul in terms of saying, I believe in you on every level. And if you put in the effort, if you put in the action, I will match you. I will be there for you. Even if it requires me going, let's say, above and beyond what I've already promised or what we've already agreed to in coaching. If you can find someone who goes, if you come through for me, I'm going to come through for you, that is such a powerful thing. And I think, even outside coaching, those are the types of people that we should all be trying to form relationships with. Yes, it's wonderful. We can form relationships with anyone. You can be nice to anyone. You can put in effort, form a relationship. But I really encourage you guys to look and put your time into relationships that are going to allow you that multiplication factor, that going, me plus you equals something so much greater than either of us by ourselves, that it doesn't even make sense for us not to be in some type of relationship together. Let's see. We got Marcine from New Jersey. What's good? What part of New Jersey are you in? We got Raheel, who says, Karen, you got lucky that you got the right person. Ooh, let's talk about that. Did Karen get lucky, or did Karen attract the right person? Did Karen do some research? Karen, let us know. How do you think, I know you're not on this live stream right now, but if you're still watching in the comments, we'd love to all get your opinion. How do you think you came across someone who happened to be such a great coach for you? And I'll share with you guys my experience. So how did I find Jesse? I didn't. Jesse found me. So I've been on LinkedIn, right, doing all my commenting, all my posting, all my value kind of addition to the platform, to the community. And Jesse saw what I was doing. Jesse also happens to be a local here in Spokane. I live in Spokane, Washington. So does Jesse. And I think, those two things combined, he saw some things in me that he saw potential in. And as a coach, this is so true. I'm literally doing the same thing with someone else. When you see potential in someone and you know that what you could do for them is just going to completely change their life and make them into an entity that is so much more powerful to help them achieve good in the world, but also towards your goals. Like if you're someone who has goals of making impact on the world in a positive and a large scale way, you have to have the strategy of finding people where you can add your value and make them 100 times more powerful in their endeavors. And the reason for that is we can only ever touch so many people ourselves. In my entire lifetime, I will only ever be able to have 1 million conversations or less. I don't know the number. I'm not going to do the math. But right, it's not 1 billion. I don't get to say, oh, if I want, I get to have 1 billion conversations with people. And that's how I'm going to make this massive impact. There is a finite limitation on the number of people I can ever speak to. Now with the internet, right, that's different. I can maybe put out a video that gets seen by a billion people. But in terms of real one-on-one, real-time connection, interaction, conversation, there's a limit to that. So if I want to achieve kind of my goals of empowering people through energy, through information, through opportunity, access, all these different things, awareness, perspective, I'm going to have to empower some other people who can do that for me. I'm going to have to evangelize my goals so much that other people champion them for me. I have to champion other people so that they can champion goals for me. And I think that's really the process of kind of building a really, really amazing network of people where you go, wow, I don't ever have to worry about my life in a real aspect because I have so many people who I've added value to and who I've helped that if something really bad happens to me, they're going to be there. And I think that's a place where not many of us exist. I'm not there yet. I'm certainly getting much, much closer. I can feel it. I can see it. It's becoming more tangible. But like, if I broke my back and needed a horrible surgery and couldn't move, and you know, my life was going to be different. Am I at that spot where I don't have to worry at all? Definitely not. Lots of things I'd have to worry about. Do I believe if I build enough, I'd say, value in other people, that would be there for me? Absolutely. Now, I haven't provided that much value yet to earn that. That's something I think you really do have to earn. It's not something you get by accident or by luck, but doing that comes from championing other people. There we go. Oh my God, I couldn't say that word for a second. So if you guys have any questions about coaching in general after this live stream, I really do encourage you to reach out to me, reach out to some other business coach that you trust. Just pick their brain, get their opinion. I'm really happy to kind of share my perspectives. One of the things that I do as a coach outside of provide clarity and confidence is I really help people widen their awareness and see through more perspectives. That's like one of my main things that I am uniquely good at is I can have a conversation with you and get you all of a sudden to think that there's 100 times more possibilities than you really originally thought, and you believe in them. Not just you go, yeah, I know that's possible. You go, wow, that's possible for me. And you think it and you feel it. And that comes from, I was just talking with Jesse, we call it a paradigm shift. So it's where as a human being, you look at the world through a lens, right? Now, when you change that lens, so does everything that you're perceiving through that lens. Like literally your entire world changes when you change your lens. And what I'm really good at is getting people to see that they actually have way more lenses to look through than they thought. Most of us, I think, originally go through life in a way where it's like, this is the way life is, and this is the way life is for me. Now, life might be different for other people, but for me, it's this set and fixed way. And I love getting people to see that that's not true at all. In fact, you have the opportunity. That's one of the unique things about a human being. You get to decide how your life gets to be every single day. Literally at any moment during any day, you could decide, I'm going to live like a cat now. Like there's literally people who've done this, you guys, who went, I think life's a lot more fun as a cat. And then they meow. And like they literally, in their mind and physically, act like a cat. So that's one real extreme. But literally at any moment, any day, anytime, you guys can make a decision about who you are that's completely different and detached from anything else you've ever been. And because of that ability, we actually have this amazing potential to be creative in ways that don't require us to make a full shift, but allow us to just look through the lens. Maybe we're not putting on the glasses. Maybe we're just sliding the monocle in front of the eye for a second so that we can see things in a different way, take some information from that new perspective and apply the information through the lens that we actually live in. Let's see, I'm gonna check out the comments real quick. Michael says, coaches should help share experiences, things they may have tried, and if it didn't work, why, and if it did work, why as well. That's a really, really great point. Coaches should always be sharing their information through context. It's definitely what I try and do. I always make sure that I contextualize, this is the information I'm sharing, and here's where I got it from. here's how I got to it. I was in this situation, I observed these things, made these connections, applied it in this area, saw some results. Now I'm telling you about it. I definitely think that's really important. If a coach is giving you generalized advice without context, number one, they're leaving a lot of value off of, they're not putting as much value on the table as they absolutely could be. Secondly, it's very hard to understand and apply information without that at least second or third level of context. A great example of this is the news. If you just read any news article, blank point statement, you don't know what site it's from, you don't know who wrote it, no context, that information is just not that valuable to you. You have to know who wrote this story. At what time period was it? Like, you guys, if you go on Google and you search any event or any place, you're going to get a range of results from right now to 10 years ago. Guess what? Articles from 10 years ago just aren't that relevant unless it's like some historical event. But even then, right, there's always new information that comes out about history, new people sharing their stories, their perspectives. So making sure that you have the context for the information you're getting. Where is this information coming from? Who is it coming from? What biases or motives might they have? Point blank period, not might they have for telling me this, just as a person, you have biases. If this is a surprise to you, I'm glad to be the first one to share it with you. You don't have to feel bad. We all have biases. They're based on how we grew up, our environment, people we've talked to. But it's important to realize that because of these biases, information gets shared in different ways. In fact, I think what I'm saying is probably incredibly relevant to everything that's going on right now around racial injustice, around I would say, social justice in general, and around humanity, is that you really can't contextualize information without the context in the information. You can't take a piece of news. You can't take a piece of information. You can't take a piece of advice and not have all the other surrounding factors and be able to make, I'd say, a good judgment on it for yourself, right? If someone says, hey, you should do this, you have to know, well, why are you telling me that? What do you think about me that's making you give me that advice? Where in your life are you? Like, what does your life look like? So that's another thing to quickly bring up is don't take coaching advice from people who have lives that you do not want. Even if they make more money, even if they have a more successful business, if their life does not look like the life you want to achieve, they're probably going to have a hard time getting you to that life. So that's one of the reasons, I work with Jesse. Jesse lives a life that I would like to lead, or at least in that direction. He's got a big family. He's got passive income. He gets to spend a ton of time with his family. He gets to work with people of his choosing, and he makes good money to cover all that. So those are things that I want in my life. I don't want some business coach who works all day and doesn't have the flexible freedom that I want. I don't care how much money they're making. They won't have the advice that I need to get me to the position that I want to be in. So that's something really important. You guys, you should qualify your coaches to make sure they're a good fit for you, the same way a coach should be qualifying you as a candidate. That's another red flag, you guys. If there's a coach out there and they take all clients, they're looking for anyone, do not work with them. Only work with someone who has criteria for who they want to work with. That means that they've put in the time and effort to figure out what their value is, how they provide that value, and they care about the person they're coaching more than they care about the money. For me, the indicating factor of that is, do they take anyone or do they only take certain types of people? And for me, I would say, I take people who are in almost every industry, but I only take people who are highly interested in building long-term brands. I'm not interested in working with people who are heavily focused in sales right now. Like, sales comes from what I teach, but if that's your focus, it's not going to be a good fit for us working together, because your brain has to be in a space to receive the information I'm going to share. And if when I'm telling you about how valuable it can be to post content that's educational because it builds these certain relationships that in 2 to 3 years pay off in major ways that are way bigger than an individual sale. And all you're thinking is, yeah, but what about the sales? Like that information doesn't sink in. And so I don't want to waste my valuable time and efforts coaching someone who isn't going to use the information, who isn't going to get the results, when I could literally take that same amount of time and apply it to someone else who is going to, take that information and put in the effort and listen to it in a different way, absorb it in a different way. Let's see. Karen says most coaches are not professionally trained. This is true. A coach powerfully asks questions, actively listens, reflects with permission, and gives their clients accountability. Absolutely. So here's my thoughts on professional training. I think that's a good point to bring up. I think professional training is always something valuable. Like training is a good thing. You learn things in training, right? You get to practice things in training. But I would also say that there's a lot of natural ability in coaching, right? Some people are going to be great coaches and some people just are not. I think a great place to look at this would be sports, right? No matter how much you've played the game, no matter how much you haven't played the game, is not always what determines someone being a good coach. A lot of times it comes from all these really nuanced things that someone can develop throughout their life at being good at. So, perceptiveness being one. It's hard to train for perceptiveness. But if someone is incredibly perceptive, it's much more likely they're going to be a good coach than someone who just isn't perceptive, even if they both go through training, right? I think same things with, like you said, asking the right questions. Some people, those questions, they ask questions themselves. In their head, they've had their whole life of practicing asking questions. That's how they think. Other people are not that way. And no matter how much training they have, they're going to have a hard time asking the right questions. So I think coaching is one of those interesting things, like playing an instrument, where yes, taking classes for how to play the piano will make you a better piano player. But are there some musicians who have never taken a single lesson who are the best piano players that have ever existed? Also, yes, right? So I think it's one of those things you can have. There are people who have natural talent for it. Is coaching, is training always going to help anyone? Yes. At any level, yes. That's why the people who are the most successful in their field still will have coaches in other areas, because coaching is something helpful. That's why actors will still have acting coaches, even though the acting coach isn't, let's say, an actor, right? You'd say, how can someone who doesn't do acting teach acting? Because coaching is not the same as teaching. In fact, this is actually a great point. I can't believe I've never heard anyone really bring this up before. Coaching and teaching are two entirely different things. And I think a lot of people see them as the same. But a teacher is teaching you, again, bringing it back to information. They're really helping you learn info that you need to know to be successful in an area. A coach is guiding you, is giving you direction, is giving you confidence, is giving you clarity. But they are not necessarily teaching you information. Now, any good coach is going to point you in directions to learn information. And through the coaching sessions, yes, there should typically be information that is learned. But that's not the focus. The focus of a coaching call is not to go, what is the thing you want to know more about this coaching call? The point of a coaching call is to go, where do you need more clarity and confidence? And what is the most burning question in your mind that I can help you answer? And confidently feel like you have the answer. Not like, what's 1 + 1 = 2, but what's the best way to build my business? Or what's the best way for me to get my first client? Now, there's actually lots of answers, right? What's the way, if you take out best, what's the way to get my first client? There's so many answers how you can get a first client. And you're going to have certain ideas about what you should try. Now, again, that coach is going to listen to what you already have to say and then ask some questions that as you're answering them, you're thinking. And you're thinking in a new way because of the question that was asked. And as you're doing this, maybe you come up with an answer that you'd never thought of before. And you're like, oh, man, now that you ask me that and I think about it and I see that the answer is this, I totally get what I should do in this circumstance. Again, it gives you added perspective. It gives you more clarity, more confidence. Let's see. Going to read through a couple of these comments here. I love that. Neil says, coaches bring unique perspective that you don't have. Absolutely. And that's why, right, someone who is an acting coach doesn't have to be an actor, is because they're actually going to have a different perspective as a coach or as someone who's not in the acting process as someone who is in the acting process. I would say, same thing with almost every other type of coach is you want them to have some experience. Like, you probably don't want a basketball coach who's never played basketball ever in their life. They have to have some amount of perspective, I think, from the player side. Or again, if you're a coach in business, you have to have some business experience outside, I think, of your coaching. I think that's super important. If you're hiring a business coach where all their business has ever been is getting people to pay them for their coaching, that's a little dicey in my opinion, because how are they going to, really relate to your situations being on the business owner side where you're trying to build a completely different product or service-based business? Let's see. All right, we got a bunch of good comments here. Oh, here's a great question. Oh my God, so many good questions, you guys. Awesome. So how can we measure credibility? Great question. Let's tackle that one first. I think that's something each of us has to have our own standards for, like what makes someone credible to you, and what makes their coaching credible, right? It's not just, are they as a person credible? Lots of people are very credible who would be terrible coaches. So how do you validate someone's credibility around coaching? I think the best way to answer that is talk to people they've coached, like people who they've actually done coaching with, or it doesn't have to be they've been a coaching client, because typically what happens if you're a good coach and you like coaching, you coach people wherever the opportunity comes up. So yes, a lot of that is through clients who are paying you, but a lot of times that's with, let's say, a friend who needs advice, and you care about that friend, so you're going to coach them. Or let's say maybe someone else comes across your way, and you don't have a formal coaching agreement or partnership, but like they have a business that's really valuable to you. And so you want to offer them that value in the hopes that they're thankful enough and you create enough value where at some point they want to do business with you in return. So outside of talking to people who've done coaching with that person, again, look at that person's life, not their money, not their business. Look at their life. Are they a happy person? That's number one. Don't get coaching advice from unhappy people. Like, how are they going to help you? They don't know. They got to deal with their own shit first, you guys. Don't take advice from someone who has internal problems they need to deal with first. Because, like, how could they possibly focus on you, and give you that real good perspective of being able to step out of their own life and vision to go, for you, I'm putting myself in your shoes and like, these are the things I see. These are the things I think. I'm going to share them with you. Outside of that, I would say flexibility. So do they have a flexible life? People who are very successful, but very locked in without flexibility are, again, not people I would take advice from or at least coaching from, because they are being forced, right? Literally, by definition of their rigidity, of their schedule, of their life, they are forced into certain directions. Now, one of the things I am so fulfilled in and so happy in getting to experience and feel with my coaching is the lack of that rigidity and the complete flexibility I have to never feel like I have to tell a client, a customer, anything. Like, I don't have to take their money. I don't have to take them as a client. I don't have to tell them to do this thing, that thing, or this thing. I really, really get to think, what's the best for them? And what are some scenarios that I would never try or never do or think of for myself? But because I'm a creative person, because I'm not thinking for myself, what are some new ideas I could come up with just for them that might be super great for them? And it's hard to get into that cognitive, creative space if you feel any amount of stress. I'm talking about at all. I'm talking about stress from your bills, stress from your time schedule, stress from anything. Stress is a killer of creativity because it literally sucks your brain power and your brain energy into a particular area. And where the best ideas, the best realizations, I think the most progress tends to be made, at least for me, again, from my perspective, you guys, is when my brain is in a free flow state of energy, meaning it doesn't have to be thinking about anything. It doesn't have to be. And therefore, it gets to explore. It gets to think of crazy new ideas that might be stupid, right? When you allow your brain the freedom to go into places where there might be nothing valuable, that's when you discover the most value, you guys. It's almost like a treasure hunt. Where are you going to find the best artifacts? Middle of the desert. Where's the hardest place to find anything and also the least amount of fun? The middle of the desert. It's like an oxymoron. So the reason this works, just to bring it back around again, if you're stressed and you go, I have to do something, I have to pay a bill, I have to be somewhere at a particular time, your brain is now thinking within a framework. It's thinking within a framework of I have to. It goes, I can't allow my thoughts to wander in this direction because I have to go in this direction. And if by some chance, what I'm looking for is not in the direction that I want to wander and explore, I'm going to lose. Something bad is going to happen to me. And that thought process literally limits the range of your thoughts. And again, it's once you go past the outer edges of your normal thoughts, of your normal thinking, that's when you discover the real gold, you guys. And for me, that's why I've been able to see a lot of progress in the past couple months specifically, is because I created enough structure in my life that alleviated stress from finances, from relationships. You guys, I bet you there are so many of you guys watching right now who at least 50% of the people you talk to on a regular basis, you kind of wish you didn't have to. And I think really weeding out not negative relationships, but relationships that make you feel stressed. And again, that kind of force you into a box in some amount of your energy levels. That's a really limiting thing in terms of your creativity and just really the connecting points that you can make, the realizations you can make. You guys watching this all right now are incredibly smart. You already know enough information. Like, you could literally not learn another piece of information the whole rest of your life and still make insane progress based off of just making new connections between the things you already know and realizing that the things you already know information-wise can be applied in infinite ways. And I think that that's a really powerful thing to think about, you guys, is I don't need to have more info. And in fact, it's completely the opposite of, I think, old rhetoric, which says the reason you're not successful is you don't know enough. You don't have the right information. And I think I would totally argue against that. I think you've got all the information you need. I think what you don't have is the ability to make connections. I don't think you have enough perspectives. That's what I think we're all lacking. More perspectives equals more ways to apply information that we already have. And it's kind of the same way that a rubber band can be used in 1,000 different ways. Really, each of the pieces of information, each of the skills that we already have and have developed can be applied in 1,000 different ways, in at least 1,000 different ways that we have never thought of before. Okay, next question, which I also really like. And then I'm going to hop down, after I deal with this question, I'll hop down to the lower part of the comments to see if there's any more recent ones. I'm kind of dealing with some older questions right now. Michael said, is my coaching affordable? So here's one thing, guys. What's affordable to you is not affordable to everyone, both up and down. So what you think is a reasonable price, other people are going to go, that is way overpriced. And another group of people are going to be like, there must be a scam going on there. It's too cheap. So affordability is a completely subjective matter. Here's how I think about it. I don't think about it, is it affordable? I think about, can you invest? Can you afford to invest? How much is that money? Great. Take that money and put it in the best possible area you can. So what that means is budgeting. If you haven't done a monthly budget yet, that's the first place to start. After you do your monthly budgeting and you figure out, you know what? I've got $500 a month I could invest on myself. Then you want to map out kind of some different ideas and ways you could invest that. Think, I could buy $500 worth of books. I could buy this online course for $500. I could hire some business coach. And you kind of write down all the benefits to each one of those, figure out what option for investment is best for you. Maybe you don't feel like you need any help in terms of like progress in your life. Maybe you just feel like you want some more money. So maybe investing into something that's going to make you more money as a vehicle, maybe that's the option. But I think it's gauging all your options. And then once you pick the category of options, so let's say you do decide, you do this little brainstorming, you decide, you know what? Coaching sounds like it would absolutely be the best investment. Like I could read books and become a little smarter, but a coach is going to help me see new things that I never saw before. And like, that sounds like the thing for me. Then you want to start shopping coaches, right? So I would say the way to shop coaches is, again, first do a reflective process of what are the areas I really want to improve in? Like, where do I want to feel more confident in my life? Where do I want more clarity? Again, and clarity often does come with more information, but a coach is going to direct you to that. So great example of that with Jesse. Part of why I really love working with Jesse is he knows all of the tools to suggest to me when I need more information. So when I go, you know what, Jesse, I feel awesome on the creative side. Like I've really honed in on like how I help people. But I don't feel very good about knowing how, like the structural parts of building a business. I didn't go to college to get a business MBA. I feel like there's probably a lot of info when you go get an MBA in business that you learn that maybe I don't have that would be valuable to me. And he's able to go, you know what? Here's literally the perfect book for you to read. Read this book, go through it. Every week, we're going to talk about some of the things you read. And that's amazing versus me literally knowing that I want to find out this information and having 1,000 books to choose from that all teach business in different ways. But because Jesse has been coaching me, he knows my personality, he knows things about me and my business, he's able to really suggest kind of the right book from his multitudes of reading books, right? So I didn't have to go read all the books. I got to read the one book because Jesse read all the books and knew which one was the best one for me to read. So I think that's another area where coaching can be really helpful, is even if you do want more information, again, a coach can really help direct you into where to find that information or how to get that information. So my coaching is 5 hours a month minimum for a 3-month commitment, because to be honest, you guys, you're not going to get too much out of coaching for 1 or 2 months. It is really something where when you find the right coach, you should want to stay with them for life, either till you are no longer wanting to make progress in that area of your life, or till you form some type of business relationship with them, which I think is a way that a lot of successful coaches go, is right. They coach people up to the point where now they're so successful. It's like, well, let's do some business together and start something new. And it makes way for a new client. So it's almost like a graduation process in that aspect. But my coaching, it's $1,250 a month. That's 5 hours billed at $250 an hour. So it's a little more than 1 hour per week. You can also use 2 or 3 of those hours for market research and analysis or any type of writing. I'm highly skilled at both copywriting and creating kind of like message funnels, although I don't like to call them that. It's just really sequences of communications. Ooh, that's a much better way to put it. I love creating sequences of communications because it involves and requires you to emotionally position yourself sequentially in a customer's shoes. And I love doing that. I love kind of putting myself into other people's positions and thinking about how that feels and the different cognitive and emotional processes involved with that. Let's see. Scott asks, is a spiritual leader the same as a coach or a couch? I love the spelling there. So I would say no. A spiritual leader is someone who can give coaching and advice, but their job is not to coach you, it's to lead you. And again, leading is different than coaching. That's why there's different words for them, you guys. A leader is someone, typically, I think the way that leaders teach is through example. Yes, there's some communication involved that tends to look similar to coaching, but what a leader does is lead. They're out in front, they're directing, they're leading the way with example. I think a coach is not necessarily they're not leading you, they're guiding you. And while it may seem like a guide and a leader are the same thing, I think that they play different roles, again, in terms of like what their intentions are and what their responsibilities are. So I don't think it's any leader's responsibility to help you succeed. Like, that's not their job. A coach's job is to help you succeed. Now, that's why qualifying is really important on the coaching side. Is like, if it's literally my job to help you succeed, then I can't pick people who I don't think are going to be successful in the first place. I have to pick people who I think you've got a great shot at being successful. And if I add my advice and my coaching in, now you've got a phenomenal shot. I'm not going to pick someone who already has kind of a bad shot and go, well, you've got a terrible shot right now, but if I coach you, then you'll just have a bad shot or maybe a good shot. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to do that. So where I really, really qualify people is thinking, are you going to get an adequate return on this $1,250 investment you're making? Now, when I think about a return on investment, I'm not just thinking about financial, although that is an important factor. I'm also thinking about quality of life, about ability to make better decisions, because that directly correlates to quality of life. I'm also thinking about how your brain works. And part of how I see my job is I'm supposed to make you smarter. And for anyone watching this who didn't think that was possible, it is. Your IQ is not a fixed number. It's been very proven that you can increase your IQ score because you can make yourself smarter. You can grow new brain cells. You can make new neural connections between your brain cells. These are all scientific, proven. I don't want to call them facts because I still feel there needs to be a lot more study and research on it. But there's absolute correlation to you trying and learning new things that are difficult for you and you becoming smarter. So yes, doing things you're good at does not make you smarter, which is why most of us don't ever get smarter, because like we find the things we're good at and we just do those things. We don't want to be challenged to the level that you have to be challenged to grow a new brain cell. We like to be challenged just a little bit for it to be fun. But you guys, there is this very real thing where if you challenge yourself enough and you try things that are really, really difficult for you, that you grow new brain cells, you become smarter. And I see that as part of my job in terms of coaching. I think, with assistance, it's not quite as hard to grow new brain cells because again, it's almost like an obstacle course. Think about any obstacle course. By yourself, quite a level of difficulty. Now, if you're doing it with someone and they can give you legs up or push you up in certain areas, much easier. Now, you're still expending a lot of energy either way, but with one kind of scenario, you're going to get it done faster, right? You're going to complete the obstacle course faster, and it's going to have felt easier. Whether or not you expended more or less energy, it will have felt easier. I think that's an important thing. Let's see. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom of these comments and address a couple recent ones because you guys are amazing. Let's see. Awesome. Yeah. Thank you, Karen, for jumping in. Really appreciate your comments and questions. Yeah. Karen says she would have paid $1 million for my coaching. It was life-changing. That's what real good coaches are looking for. They're looking for people to coach who, through the process of coaching, that person goes, there's no amount you could have charged me where it would have been as much value as you gave me. Like, the value you gave me is infinitely more than any amount of money I will ever make. To me, that's return on investment. When you give your clients something they could not possibly buy with money, that's the end all. That's the fulfillment. That is the game changer. I think that's the thing that makes amazing coaches stand out from all the rest is, did you change that person's life irrevocably? If the answer is yes, then fuck yeah, who cares how much you charged? Who cares? Life is not about money, you guys. It's about all the other things. It's about happiness, fulfillment, impact, community, relationships. So I love that you brought that up. Again, you guys, this isn't just me saying this. This is other real live people contributing their opinions on coaching. So I think coaching's gotten a real bad rap in the last decade, not for bad reason. Just I think things have changed a lot in the last 10 years, guys. There's a lot of really, really amazing coaches now that in those past 10 years have been operating their businesses, have been learning through life experiences. There's a lot of people that in 10 years live the same year 10 times. And then there's people that in 10 years have lived the equivalent of 50 years of life experiences. I would encourage you to find coaches, any type of coach that has, I would say, a profound amount of life experience, no matter what their age is. I put myself in that category. I've been through a gas explosion. I was homeless. I've built several businesses. I've gone through incredible relationship struggles and come out the other side. I've experienced loss in my family, not human loss, but like we have a really, really sad story with where we ended up having a puppy stolen from us in a long, drawn out, dramatic fashion, which again, like broke my heart. It's something I don't ever talk about. I hate talking about it because I can't talk about it without it ripping my heart open again. So I've gone through a lot. And I think you want people coaching you who've gone through a lot of life, right? Coaching is not just about information. It's about contextualizing that information within your life. And to do that, you're going to need, again, outside perspective. You're going to need someone's advice and help who has the ability to extrapolate beyond their own experiences. And I think that when you have diverse life experiences, when you have a lot of life experiences, that's what it lets you do. It lets you go, my life's like this, but I know other people's lives are like this. In fact, my life used to be like this. That's where I get so much of my wisdom. Or I had someone the other day, they went, this might sound a little Gen Z or kind of funny, but like, how are you so woke? Right? Like Gen Z loves to use that phrase, woke, which means like, you're not brainwashed by the man, like you're with it. And that comes from me having lived many lives, I would say. The person I am now, yes, it's built off of the people I used to be, the dead versions of myself, of my former self, but I'm not those people. I'm a different person. And for me to think that I used to be someone else and what that person, what former me experienced, what former me thought, that gives me enough perspective to go, you know what? Not only can people change in incredible and profound ways, but like, remember how you used to be different. Think about that process. Think about how this person you're trying to talk to right now is different from you. And it allows me to almost think about my clients as a former version of myself. And I go, you know what? This person's very different from me. Their life is different from me. But what are the ways that I'm like them? And how can I really put myself in their shoes to experience what they're experiencing right now, and be able to give them advice through the context of their life, but with all of my experiences to give me different information and different perspectives to share what they're going through in a different light. Let's see. Going through some comments here again. Candace says that the right business coaches make all the difference. Absolutely. And you guys, I think if you're someone, you're like, all this sounds amazing. Coaching sounds like the thing for me. Then here's what I would do. I would, in your head, make a determination. I am going to find the right coach for me. And do all these things, do your research, find the right one. But if that first one doesn't feel like the right fit, if within that first month or the first 3 months, it doesn't work out, don't tell yourself coaching didn't work for me. Tell yourself, okay, that coach wasn't the right one for me, but I learned some things from this experience about what the right coach is, about what to look for, about maybe where I do need more help and where I don't need more help. And then try again. Because I promise you, as you can see from some of these people commenting, when you find the right one, your life will be changed forever onward. It's a game changer. So why wouldn't you want to put in the effort and commitment to say, I'm going to figure that out and who that is, and then my life will be better. So I encourage you, if you need some help, you can message me. If you need some more advice just on, planning and processing this out, I'm more than happy to help absolutely anyone without pitching you guys my services. Again, I qualify my clients quite highly. One, you have to have enough money to afford me. And if you don't, I will not, if you're like, I can kind of afford you, but like it's going to put me in a financial strain, I'm sorry, but I don't want to work with you because of the factor we talked about earlier. If you're not in a space where financial stress is not a major concern to you, it's very hard to listen to coaching in the active way you need to be able to apply it and absorb it fully and have it have the most impact. And I'm really looking for people that I can work with to make massive impact. So please come to me. I'll help you figure out whatever's best for you. If you do happen to be a good fit for me, I'd love to discuss that also. But really, I want to help people find the best fits for them. Oh, Karen says she's interested in our coaching group. Great. I am setting up a kind of sneak peek website tonight. So I'll have a URL tomorrow to send people if they want to sign up for like an email list to get all the updates as we're building it out. I would sign up early because there's going to be like a lot of info coming out on it, and kind of the more you know about it, the more I think excited you're going to get, and the more you can tell other people about it. And again, we're starting it out really small. We do have a cap of 50 people kind of on the live portion of the group, but we're building out a lot of community features to the point where we want to scale it into a giant community, because I truly believe that community brings more value than almost anything. And I see that as proof from LinkedIn as a platform. Like literally, if LinkedIn as a community, as a facilitation for community, could change my life the way it has, plus literally, I talk to a lot of people, you guys, on a regular basis. And there's so many people I've talked to who went, yeah, LinkedIn's changed my life too. It's literally completely changed my business. It's changed my relationships, the quality of them, the number of them I have, the confidence I have, the community sense that I feel. And I think that's something I get so incredibly excited about, because when you believe even just a little bit in yourself, and then you surround yourself with people who also believe in you, it changes everything. It's almost impossible for you not to succeed. It really is. When you have a group of people who all care and they've all made a commitment to championing each other, to being there for each other. Because when I say I'm going to be there for you, I know that 49 other people are going to go, awesome, we're going to be there for you too. That's a great trade-off. That's a great trade-off for me to care and get that much caring back and support back. And for really everyone to be committed, I think that it creates almost like a fail-proof system. And I'm really excited to build it out in a way that I feel like community's never been built. I really do feel like community online. Now, in person, I feel like it's been built. I feel like we're actually very good at building in-person communities. Online, I think there's been a lot where communities have been built to a certain size, and then they kind of deteriorate because of the size. And I'm really focused on being able to build a scalable community that only grows in value as it grows in number of people. I think that requires a lot of effort, a lot of planning, a lot of intention and strategy, but that's where my head's at. That's where Jesse's head's at. And we're super excited. If you guys have any suggestions, ideas, anything that you thought of when I mentioned a coaching group or a community, a business community, please reach out to me. I'd love to even just, have a conversation with you, talk about it. This really is kind of a period where we're exploring all the potential ways where we could create and add value through community. Let's see. Just reading through some of these comments here. You guys are awesome. Yeah. Just a lot of agreement here. Love it. Love it. Yeah, that's another good point. So I think, you know, some coaches, so I had the LinkedIn user's name is blocked out, so I can't see, but someone said coaches and mentors keep you on track of achieving goals. So this is a point where I maybe argue or differ a little bit. I think, yes, they tend to do that, but that's not at all their job. I think it's your job as the client to keep on track, and to be taking action based off your coach. And that's, again, another qualifying thing, you guys. So for me, and this is actually something kind of hard to qualify as a coach, other than kind of giving your client tasks in the beginning and seeing if they complete them. But as a coach, you really don't want to have to remind your clients about the things that they should be doing, that you already told them they should be doing in your coaching session. And in fact, it's pretty demotivating as a coach when you've put all this energy and effort and you're like, yo, so you're gonna do this next week, right? Because, like, we talked about this and we're both really excited about where that's gonna lead you. And they go, yeah, and then they don't do it. And you have to message them and go, hey, just checking in. Wanted to see what your progress is on this thing. And they're like, oh, I haven't done it. And then you're like, okay, make sure you really do it. And then next meeting comes and they're like, oh yeah, I didn't really get around to it. So I would say that's actually not at all the job of a coach. I think it's the job of the coach, again, to qualify their clients and make sure they're working with people who are ambitious enough, say, what's the right word? Dedicated enough, and I would say disciplined the right word, disciplined enough to execute based on advice. If you don't have the practice of executing based off advice, I would suggest starting there. So if you've never been coached before, I would start with doing a little bit of your own research and just implementing based off that research. So, like, blindly trust what you read online and act on it, and at least make yourself coachable to taking action, because taking action is incredibly important in the coaching process. If you're not good at taking action, then you're going to have a really hard time with coaching in general. I love that. Prakash says the greatest burden in our life is the unfulfilled potential. Coaches help us realize our true potential. Absolutely. Yes. So, and that's true both in potential of business and potential of relationships, but I think especially in the potential of quality of life, or like you said, fulfillment. And I think that a lot of times people need help, myself absolutely included. I need an outside perspective to help me think through some of the contradicting feelings that I have, or contradicting emotions, or goals that I have. Here's a great example. I'm sure you guys have this too. It's really actually important to identify in your life where things are pulling you in opposite directions. So here's an example. I love my business. I love helping people. I love coaching people. I love coming on live streams. I love sharing information. I love it so much. It's the only thing I want to do. Now, pulling me in the completely opposite direction is I love my family. I love my family so much. I love my dogs. I love my husband. There's nothing else I want to do but spend time with my family. Those are completely contradicting opposite things. I can't do both of those things to the extreme. It's literally not. I can't spend all my time with my family and spend all my time on my business. So because of that, but I feel a complete draw and pull to both of those things. So I have to figure out what the right balance is for me in my life. Now, no one's going to be able to tell me what the balance is, but a good coach is going to be able to help me navigate and figure out that balance for myself. Now, yes, could I do it on my own? Yeah. Could I do it better with help? Absolutely. And the reason for that, I would say, is because of feelings. So when you're thinking about your life, like thinking about it up here, because it's you also feel things in here, right? In your chest, in your heart. And those feelings are connected to thoughts. And because they're tied together, sometimes it's confusing to sort them all out when they're pulling different ways, but kind of trying to align. Like it's a big smorgasbord and things feel tangled, and it's just hard to see clearly between your emotions and between your thoughts. And I think what a coach can do really well is that they can see the difference because they don't have your feelings. They are not emotionally tied to the ideas that you're sharing, and they can listen to just what you're saying and also a bit of the way you're saying it to draw out maybe some more things that you're not saying. And then again, usually it's asking questions. Okay, well, it sounds like what you're saying is this. Is that true? And then getting you to clarify your own thoughts, I think, is a incredibly, incredibly valuable way to help you reach more fulfillment. Because again, no one's going to tell you how to lead a more fulfilled life. What they can do is help you pull out information, help you sort out the information you already have to determine that for yourself. And then I think the other thing to really be aware of is that your life is in a fluid state. Your life is never rigid. And what works for you right now is not always going to be the thing that works for you in the future. In fact, probably will need to adapt and change to be working for you just as well in the future. So this is something to be aware of, that like coaching, this process of figuring out, of navigating, of gaining clarity, of gaining confidence, it's a lifelong process. It's not something you do and then like all of a sudden everything makes sense and you have zero questions and like now you know the answers to everything that comes your way. There's always more questions. There's always confusion. There's always a mix of emotions happening. That's kind of the beautiful nature of being a human being, right? It never gets boring. It never stays the same. It's always a challenge. And I think these things inherently make life so incredible, so rewarding, so fulfilling. And once you realize the beauty of it, you can stop feeling the strain of it. Yes, you guys, life is hard in a good way. Stop thinking that hard means bad. What if in your brain you rearranged your thoughts and you went, hard is good. In fact, anything that's hard in life, that's where all the good stuff about life comes from. That's where rewarding feelings come from. That's where fulfilling feelings come from. That's where proud feelings come from. That's where, connective feelings come from. Do you know how much more I feel connected immediately to someone who's overcome the same obstacle as me than to someone who's had the same success as me? Cool, you make money too? Whatever, bro. Whoa, you also were homeless? We should probably be friends, right? It's a totally different level of human connection. And I think that really in life, what makes us all feel fulfilled is human connection. That's what it comes down. Yes, do we want to achieve things? Do we want to build things? Yes. But take all that away, we could still be happy through human connection. Leave all that there, take away human connection, and we're going to be miserable people. The reason that people built such great things was to either leave legacy or to share it with others. And I really believe that to be true for even people who've done horrible things in kind of large scale ways. Hitler, great example. Hitler, one of the worst dudes ever, right? Yet, I believe that he thought he was the hero of his life. He thought he was the hero of his world. What he was doing, he saw as something he was building for his entire nation, for his entire race. Do I agree with it? No, not at all. But you have to realize that all of us are connected through that desire, that want to form human connection, to share, to not feel alone. So I think, that's something that a coach should be aware of on a business coach, a sales coach, anything that really doesn't have to do as much with relationships as, let's say, a life coach or a relationship coach. That type of coach should still be highly experienced and skilled in relationships, in their emotions, because those are the base layers to life. Like business, money, that's a top layer. A base layer is happiness. A base layer is relationships. A base layer is communications. What, Karen? I know you're not on right now, but Karen's in Spokane. I'm gonna have to follow up with her. If you're in Spokane, Washington, please get at me. I love this city so much. I love the, again, community, you guys. This city has an incredible community, better than any other place I've ever visited. That also happens to be a relatively big city. And I love connecting with other people in this town, forming relationships, helping their businesses, just providing value in general. Let's see. We're going. This is like one of the longest lives I've ever done on LinkedIn, YouTube, or Facebook. So we're going to close it up here soon. But I think that there's so many great questions here, a lot of value, a lot of comments. I really, really appreciate you guys watching. And I should have said this earlier, but share. Please share the live. This is a really good one. I ask you guys to share all of them, but this one, if you haven't ever shared one before, this would be the one to share. I think that I'd love to get more people commenting with their questions on coaching, on anything like that. All right, you guys, thank you so much. This was so much fun. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to follow up with me. I'll throw up my email address up here. There we go. Any questions? Yes, I help businesses communicate impactful stories through video, but I feel like I've got a lot of experience, a lot of development in a lot of different areas. So whatever your question is, please feel free to reach out to me. If I don't feel like I'm qualified to give you a good answer, I am absolutely connected to a bunch of amazing, amazing people who I'd love to point you in the direction of, who I think could help you out. So again, you guys have a fantastic rest of your night. If you need anything at all, hit me up. Please share the live, and just remember to be grateful. Be grateful for the communities that we have. Be grateful that we live in a world with so much convenience, electricity, flushing toilets, all this variety of food. You guys, we get to eat cake. Did you know that they didn't get to used to eat cake? So there's a lot to be grateful for. Make sure that you say I love you to someone that you care about. And if you need anything, just reach out to someone. Please don't be silent when you're someone in need, because us reaching out to each other not only forms tighter bonds, connections, helps the other person feel valued and fulfilled as well. You guys have an amazing night.